enjoy, okay, the talents that you have. Millennials, millennials, I don't like too much the label. I'm not very fond of labels. I work in human resources. I think the most important thing for me is the person, okay? Who are the ones who are already working here for companies? Okay, great. And who are the ones who are going to look for their first job tomorrow or in a couple of months or in several months? Okay. When I do interviews with young people, obviously I'm not looking for experience. Obviously I cannot ask for experience, okay? So what am I looking for? I'm not going to backwards, but for me the most important thing is the attitude. Okay, how do you face life? How do you look at your challenges? What is your goal in life? There was a question we were asking in human resources a long time ago that we don't ask anymore. I said, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? This question already died a long time ago. But at least what moves you, okay? What makes you a different person? A different person from all the other people that are around you, okay? Not better, not worse, different. This morning we were talking a little bit about this also, no? And there's a lot of competition today. This is the generation that has more education, more access to information, more access to any type, no, of traveling, connecting with other people, learning, whatever. I mean, for us, when we were in the 70s, me, I'm a lucky guy. I'm French. Okay, nobody's perfect. That's all I say. I was born in Paris, but then I came to Spain. I had the opportunity to do something similar to Erasmus when Erasmus didn't exist. Okay, but I'm a lucky guy, and then I enjoyed it. I stayed in Spain. I realized when I decided to stay in Spain when I realized that the drinks in Spain were longer than in France in terms of alcohol, okay, and cheaper. I said, I have to find my way out to stay here, okay. And then I looked for a job and I found a job. I didn't say that in the interview. Eh? Don't say that in the interview. But I'm a lucky guy. Then I moved to Madrid, and I went to Inditex. During my life in Inditex, I had the chance to travel all around the world and do a lot of great projects. Okay. And for me, this is what I would like to see also in all the new candidates that are coming to work for a company. Something different. This is also why in Estrella Galicia, our beer is different. Okay. So, is there any war in between millennials and millennials? Is there anything that we cannot share? And this is my opinion. I think in my team I have a lot of young people, and the best thing that you can see at the end of the day, talking about working together, is when the experience of the millennials mix with the emotion and the passion of the millennials, and we are able to add the strength of both groups of people. This is the best in the world. This is when nobody is going to beat us. So millennials, don't fear too much these old people, okay? A little bit, we have a little bit of experience, we can teach you a couple of things, okay? Help us. Okay, help us with this extra energy that you have, and that sometimes we have forgotten, okay, after 25 years working. Okay, one is a little bit tired, but you have this energy that we need, okay? So, thank you for your time, and one other advice that I can give to you is please, during your professional life, enjoy, have fun. Okay, if you don't have fun doing what you're doing, just forget it, okay? So, thank you very much, and I'll see you at the end of the day sharing a beer.
Thank you very much, Paul. Se me han roto las medias. I broke my panties. How are these called? Well, they're broken. So, sorry. You know, I'm not that glamorous. So I had to tell you, just in case somebody tweets, hey, you broke panties. Yes. So I tell you first. I have a question. Well, first, I want to remind you, you have this, the app. So if you want to ask questions to the speakers, you can use the app for the next speaker, for example. And I'm going to ask you another question. Do you know the name Richard Branson sounds to you familiar? If it is, levantarme las manitas, hands up. Okay. Those who don't know who he is, he's probably one of the most important, in the business level, Virgin Records, Virgin Airplanes, you know? Okay. Well, that person said that this speaker, the next speaker, is one of the most influential entrepreneurs in the world. Casi nada. O sea, nothing. Nothing of nothing. I don't think you say that, but I wanted to say because he... So, he's gonna tell us how you feel when a person like Richard Branson says something like that. So please give him a huge applause. We're gonna have Ben Towers!
We live in this world where we constantly live our lives through social media. We try and produce this fake portrayal of what we're actually doing. We're all a victim of it. How many of you have gone on holiday, taken your photos and then posted it over the next few months to try and look like you spent the last 10 years in the Caribbean? Upon growing my business and upon my journey, I had this big battle to overcome. People like Richard Branson, these big influencers were talking about me. And I had to find a way to be able to both share what I was doing, but do it in a way which is authentic and do it in a way which is going to help other people. So I'm going to share with you my journey. And at the end of my talk, I'm going to do a few questions. So do feel free to ask them on the app, and I think they come up over there. So if we can get the first one up, please. Anyway, so when I was 11 years old, a family friend came up to me and she went, Ben, you're really good with computers. Do you mind having to go out and build me a website? So I went on YouTube and learned how to build a really simple site. Didn't know what I was doing, just literally on YouTube following tutorials. I'm sure a lot of you here, if we were to ask who have gone on YouTube to follow a tutorial, you've all done one of some sort, whether that be fixing a fridge, whether that be completing a level in Fortnite. Whatever it is, you've probably done it. So I did this, but at the end, she was like, Ben, that's really good. Here's £50. And when you're 11 and you get paid £50, 50 euros, that sort of thing, you think, this is brilliant. Now, I couldn't quite buy any beer at this point, so I'm sorry about that. But I could buy lots of sweets down the shop. So I went straight to the shop. I was buying loads of sweets. I was like, this is brilliant. I must be the richest 11-year-old in the UK. This is amazing. But then, obviously, it wasn't a lot of money, so it went quite quickly. And it suddenly dawned on me that I now need to do more to make this website company grow. So I then started to sort of build websites for people I didn't know. I joined a freelancing website, and along doing that, I then managed to progress and grow the company. So to give you some of the highlights of where I've got up to, where I've got up to upon my career. So I've been involved in a number of TV shows celebrating young people, had the opportunity to win a number of awards. So you got named by Richard Branson, and I was top of a Times Super Teen Power List. Now all of this is nice, and all of this is brilliant PR-wise and that sort of thing, but reality is, if I reflect on my journey, I can say that what I've done and some of the barriers I've overcome have opened more doors for young people, have opened more opportunities, and be able to give back. And that's been a massive importance to me growing up. So here's a picture of me, age 11, when I started building those websites. All right, calm down. This is the website I built for her. So it's a really simple site. She was an author. I built all this website. It's still there today. It's very basic. So I went to my school and I said, look, I'm running this business. How exciting is this? You know, I'm making money. It's really good. And suddenly my form tutor, the person I'm meant to look up to, the person who's meant to support me in my business and help me with my career, said you need to stop because it's not going to provide you a living and you've got your GCSE exams in a few weeks. Now, when you're 11 or 12 and you've got this big ambition and somebody comes and crushes it in that split second, it destroys you. It makes you feel the lowest of the low. So I stopped running a business. I completely stopped it all and thought, you know what? She's right. It's not right. I'm too young. I can't do it. I started again a couple of months later because I realized that, you know what? I don't want to let somebody else's views judge what I was going to do. So I launched Towers Design. We started off just building websites. Then clients would go, can you build our logo? So I then upskilled myself, again through YouTube, how to build a logo. Then started to get into printing and website hosting, and we eventually became what is known as your full-service marketing agency. And that was good. We were working with some really nice brands, national brands like Pot Noodle. I don't know if you know about that, but by working alongside them, I had the opportunity to then obviously employ other people because I couldn't do it all myself. So when I was about 13 years old, I took on a freelancer to do work for me so I could then pass on work to her, she'd build the website, and I could then make my money, and in the evenings I wouldn't have to spend all my time trying to build websites. So I took her on, then ended up taking her on full time when I was about 14, 15 because I was getting enough money and work for that. But then my next big challenge hit me. She realized that I was young. I didn't tell her. I kept it all quiet. And I think too often we try and hide the fact that we're young. We think that it's going to hold us back. We think that it's not going to be right. Nobody wants to employ or nobody wants to work with a young person. And I thought that. Because I held it back, because I didn't tell her, I then had some quite bad consequences. Whilst I was at school doing my lessons, I thought she was working for me. Reality was she wasn't. She was doing other paid work for other companies because I couldn't then control her and see what was happening. So I then had to basically dismiss her and take on somebody else. And that person I then took on came involved in the company right up to the point last year where I ended up exiting, and he was my head of web and helped grow the company to the size we got. So I started to take on my first member staff, then started to take on more and more. At this point, I was about 16 years old, and we started to do work for some really cool brands, some marshmallow companies, to helping launch the Amazon Echo in the UK. And I had my next big challenge. I needed to get out of education because I realized that I needed to focus on the business. So I decided, what was I going to do? I was employing about 3 or 4 staff at this point, so I realized that it was right for me to make that move, but the law says you can't do it. So I then became the first person in the UK to employ themselves as an apprentice. By doing that, it then enabled me to open up this world of business. I was then able to be full-time in the company. So my family, upon growing to this point, you're heavily reliant on your family. I was living at home. They were my rock behind everything I was doing. But neither of my parents and in my sort of close family owned business. So for me, I felt like I was at it alone. My parents could support me and say, go on, give it a go, that's really good. But they couldn't tell me what to do or tell me how to approach things. So I was having to learn from other people and learn from online. So my next challenge happened. When I was 17 years old, we were employing about 19, maybe 20 people at this point. We were doing marketing campaigns for some big national brands. And in the UK, the law works that you have to be 18 to get a business bank account. So I was technically using my child's bank account to run this business because there's nothing I could do. And that was good. No, it's working okay, until it reached a point where my bank had to flag it up because they said you've got too many transactions happening for a child's bank account. And I said, yeah, I know. What can I do? You can't get this and can't get that. And he went, yeah, so we're going to have to close down your bank account because it's breaking terms and conditions. So I literally had to leave that bank with my money in my hands because I could not run that company with a bank account. And that's the same across all of the banks across the UK. So I then made it my mission to lobby the government and lobby the banks to change this, and I became the first ever person in the UK to get a business bank account whilst under the age of 18. But the key thing here is it then opened the doors to other young people to go out and get business bank accounts. So I was at this point, 17 years old, employing up until about this time about 26 staff, doing work for some really cool national brands, and I'll show you them in a second. And then I was dragged into this media world. I was dragged into this world of TV. I did a few TV shows. We did, first, Dragon's Den or Shark Tank. We did basically a UK kids version of that, and I was a dragon. Right up to doing a lot of work with the government at Number 10, and my whole thing behind this was, how can we better promote young people? Because along my journey across meeting various companies, I always felt like people were bringing me down and saying, but you're young, so you're not good enough. So I made it my mission to prove to the world that age is just a number. Age doesn't hold you back. What holds you back is your attitude to your age and how you see that holding you back. So I was doing this TV stuff, and then this then led to this other side of the world where I was invited to do things like interview Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, on Sky News and awards and things like that. And that was brilliant. I loved it. But I say at this point I learned my next biggest lesson. When you're on your way to success and when you're on your way doing well, often things can get in the way. Often things can come up which won't necessarily help you. And doing this was great. I enjoyed it. It's good fun. But the reality was it helping the company grow? Probably not. So some of the companies we were working with is Champneys, health spa. So Champneys, for example, one of the luxury health spas across the UK, got about 10 or 15 places. Lady Diana and people like that had a suite there. We rebranded them to try and help them reach more young people. Virgin Racing, their electronic racing team, how can they bring their sponsors onto the cars and keep it looking good? And also a number of other campaigns, from Pot Noodle to Amazon Echo to the government about voting, getting young people to engage in the vote. Along the way, I'm not going to sit here and say that I knew exactly what we were doing across all of this, but I surrounded myself with people who did. And that's the key thing. I had a creative team and so on who could build these sort of assets, could build these sort of campaigns, and my job was to lead them and give them that vision, the resources, so they can go on and achieve and help their clients do what they wanted to do. So, age 18, we had 26 staff. I was like, what next? I almost got a bit bored. I was like, I've done this now, what can I do now? So then exited from the company September last year, which obviously again gave me the opportunity to learn a lot of new things. I then worked in the new agency for 6 months and then left that after my contract finished. So what am I up to now? I'm an advisor at Buckingham Palace, royal family in the UK, about how can they engage innovation across the Commonwealth. Speaking at conferences, not when I've got a cold like I have today, and also, there you are, and also doing a lot of TV shows, again, about how can we better encourage more young people to succeed, because I truly believe that it is down to your mind, it's not down to what the world sees you as. And actually, if we all have this positive step forward and we all say, you know what, as a young person, I'm going to believe I can go and do it, you will be amazed at the results you can do. So my next big business, what we're focusing on, and I'll read you out 3 statistics that really hit me and struck me. Now, obesity is rising, 92% in the UK, and similar in countries like Spain and so on. 1 in 4 people, and this is new enough across the world, would experience some form of mental health illness, and that's per year. And 20% of the population die prematurely of poor health choice. And I read this when I was doing some of my work, and I realized that something needs to change. I saw this as my next chance to see what can we do. So we're now on a mission to try and change that, and I'm now moving away from the marketing space and now launching a health app to try and help make all of us in here achieve our health goals. So for me, the key thing behind doing this, yes, it's going to be good fun and it's going to have that enjoyment, and that's important in business. But I know that by doing this, we can help make our generation healthier. We can help tackle this growing mental health crisis, help tackle this growing health problems. And so that is my big thing behind why I'm doing this next company. And what I say for all of you, no matter where you are in your journey, no matter what you're doing, if you are doing it just purely because the money, or just purely because that's what you think is right, that'll get you so far, but I can tell you now, quite quickly, you will get bored. Quite quickly, you will almost get like, yeah, that's done, and now what? But if you have some sort of social mission, some sort of thing you want to change, some sort of thing you want to achieve, you then carry on and keep that momentum, because by doing that, you've now got that almost idea that you can now really focus on. And that's why I'd say I got bored in the marketing company, because it was the same thing over and over again. Whereas by launching this health app, I know that I've got my clear mission to try and change the health outcomes of our generation. So I'll open up to a few questions now. So how would you encourage the experienced people to start a business? So my key thing behind this is, first thing, your business idea, I believe, should be something you're passionate about. Don't start a business because you're not passionate about it, because that will quickly wear out. So the best people who start businesses are always people who have got a hobby, and slowly that becomes into a business. And a good example of that, if you look at people in college, and you look at how they go on to achieve businesses, some of the best people are the people who study hairdressing and then make a business out of that, instead of studying business and then making a business to try and make a business. So try and make it from your hobby, because in that way you're more passionate, you're more likely to do it. And the other thing is, learn as much as you can. Do internships at your big competitors. Literally, I believe that people are the best way to learn from. I didn't learn from textbooks. If you were to look at my exams at school, my business exam was nowhere near my top exam. In fact, it's probably about the second or third worst exam I did. Why is that? Because I believe there's this big mismatch between business, what you're taught, and business in real life. And so actually, for me, getting out there and getting that real life experience is going to help you to then go on and launch that business. Doing consultancy, yes, I do a lot of consultancy within the UK, I say Royal Family, right up to companies like GSK, who are a pharmaceutical company, and helping and some of my old clients as well, to help them try and reach younger people, but also helping give my insight and open doors and so on. Do I think being a young entrepreneur is being perceived more positively in the future? This is actually something which I think frustrates me. I think people use the word entrepreneur because they want to use the word entrepreneur. Reality is, the word entrepreneur is someone who is constantly making change and constantly finding improvements on things. What this means is somebody who's doing a bit of Bitcoin trading, that's nice. But are they really an entrepreneur? Reality is maybe not at that stage. And I think the word entrepreneur is being almost broken down and almost not being valid as what it used to be. It used to be, if you're an entrepreneur, people would instantly go, wow. Now people go, so what do you do? Because people now expect people to call themselves an entrepreneur before they actually are. So I think there's this big shift happening across the use of the word, and I believe that it's going to cause problems online. Everyone's trying to grow his personal brand. Everyone wants to get all these Instagram followers and all these YouTube subscribers and things like that, and that's good. But the key thing behind it is making sure you have the substance to back that up. So calling yourself an entrepreneur publicly is fine, but if you're not then doing what you say you're doing, if you're not actively solving problems, not actively causing a difference, then by calling yourself an entrepreneur and then not doing that, people won't want to follow you, people won't want to engage with you, and most importantly, I believe it'll actually lead to you not being as successful, because you spend all your time trying to grow this personal brand and trying to grow this image without actually growing the backbone behind what you're doing. When I first started, 11, 12, 13 years old, I had no idea or want to grow a brand. I had no idea to grow my Instagram or Twitter or anything like that, or even do any TV stuff. At that point, I was just like, you know what? I just want to enjoy myself and run this business. And I think for me, by having that period at the time where I could really focus on just the company and not what the world saw, it meant me able to have that solid concrete base to build up from and not constantly be worrying about how everyone's going to perceive it. Last one will be a bottom one, actually. So how did you get your first clients? So I signed up to a freelancing website called People Per Hour. They're in your age. Ben from London and a cartoon picture of me. It was easy at that point because I could just pretend. I didn't lie, didn't say I was old, but they just presumed I was. But what about if you're not in that situation where what you're doing can be done online? I'd say be open and transparent. There's nothing wrong with walking to a company and saying, look, I'm a young person, but I believe that I'm going to make a difference to this industry. Please, can you give me that opportunity so I can go and do that? Now, don't expect to suddenly be given hundreds of thousands of euros. Don't expect to suddenly be given this massive contract and this opportunity. Just try and be hopeful. By doing that, they may say, okay, give it a go. We won't pay you, but you can use it as your lead client. And the second you've got that first piece of portfolio work, if you're doing services, you can use that for your next work, and your next work, and your next work. That's what we did. I didn't wake up one morning and suddenly do work for Virgin Racing. That happened over a lot of time and a lot of work. If you look at where we first started client-wise, from doing £50 websites, it took us a long time until we could get to the stage where we could then charge clients hundreds of thousands of pounds. And that was a long phase to go up. So don't try and jump to that first big, juicy contracts. Start from the bottom, start from the easier to find clients, and work your way up. And then when you get to the top, you've learned a lot more, you can do a lot better results. So I think that's about it. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you so much, Ben. Truly, the cardio I'm doing is just too much for me. Like, I'm gonna start presenting like over there, down, and I'll sit down just like, okay, speak. I'm gonna sit down here. The next speaker we have now is gonna leave us like speechless. It's a way of saying it, because the topic is pretty much interesting. And I think you are all gonna flipar. You're gonna be amazed by it. You have to give a really cool welcome to José Luis Cordeiro, Director of the Millennium Project and Vice President of Humanity Plus. A new vision for death of death. Give him a really big applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, we're going to be tackling a very exciting, thrilling subject this afternoon. I'm not going to start talking about death because it could get really gloomy, sad, and even scary. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to ask José Luis Cordeiro, our speaker today, to talk about it because he has a very futuristic vision of it and a very positive one also. So please welcome José Luis Cordeiro. He is here. It's an immense honor to have you here. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here, José Luis. So, before we start, I want to ask you, how are you feeling about this event? How do you like it?
Well, it's an event full of youth, young people who want to change the world, so I congratulate you for being here.
Thank you so much. So, José Luis, it's a great honor to have you here. Really, it's an immense opportunity. You are a futurologist and you are the founder and professor at Singularity University. So please tell us more about yourself, because I think it's really good for us to know about what you've done and who you are.
I am an engineer. I studied in Massachusetts, MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and I have been working on new technologies all my life. And now we are having incredible technologies in medicine and biotechnology that will help us live long enough to live forever. And this is so incredible that I do not plan to die. In fact, I plan to be younger than today in maybe in 2 decades, 3 decades, because we are developing rejuvenation technologies. So my hope is that in 20 years, I will be younger than most of you.
Woo! So who are you? Who of you guys is not planning to die either? Okay, good.
Everybody should raise their hands. Huh? I hope no one wants to die here.
Great, thank you, Jose Luis. So, in fact, you have tackled a very sensitive but very interesting subject in your book, the death of death. So, why did you choose to talk about this? Why did it spark your interest?
The technological advances of the last few years are incredible. We have been able to rejuvenate experimental animals. For example, today we have mice that live like the equivalent of 2 normal mouse years, mouse lives. So almost 200 human years equivalent. And for some mosquitoes, 4 times, and for some worms, 10 times. And this is just increasing. We know more and more about biology, how to control aging and how to revert aging. So this is the best time to be alive. You were born at the right time. This is really incredible what we are going to see. And we hope in 20 years, about more or less, to start rejuvenating technologies for everybody who wants it. And we will be able to live indefinitely young, not indefinitely old, because no one wants to be old. We all want to be young, full of energy, and this will be possible. Experiments have shown that this is possible with animals, and the first human trials, experiments with humans, are also starting. So maybe in a couple of years we will have the first humans being rejuvenated with experimental technologies. And I am looking for volunteers. Whoever doesn't want to die and wants to try these technologies, please contact me.
Thank you, Jose Luis. Everything you're saying is very interesting, very exciting. So, you know, when I knew I had to interview you in this event, I was talking to my friends and I was like, what can I ask this man? He's a scientist and he's probably studied a lot this subject. And so what can I ask? What kind of questions? So everyone came up with this question about overpopulation, which we will tackle in a few minutes. But honestly, the first thing I thought about is, if I grow forever young, will the conflict of generations end? Will I get along better with my children, for example?
I think so, because all of us are going to be in a good physical condition, and even the grandparents, the great-grandparents, and we will be able to do things together. I think it will be better for the future of humanity if people are youthful and full of energy. Anyway, the world is changing very fast. Life expectancy keeps on increasing, but what is new for the first time is that we will be able to rejuvenate people. We will be able to stop aging. We will be able to stop people from dying. Death is the most horrible thing that can happen. No one wants to die, and we are very close to killing death. This is what I call the death of death. We will kill aging, we will kill death, and we will live in a better world for millennials, old ennials, as it was called before. In Spanish, I say viegenials, the viegenials, no? But anyway, there will be no generation problem because most people will be in a youthful state.
It's true, and seen from your perspective, people will also be happier if you live forever after with the love of your life or your parents. I mean, it could increase your happiness for sure. So, as I was saying, a lot of my friends asked me to ask you about overpopulation. So, if everyone lives forever, what are we going to do? I mean, the planet is limited, and at the end, we can't all fit in the same Earth. So, what's going to happen, do you think?
Well, this is really a myth. It is not true. There is, there is no overpopulation problem. In fact, many people have been talking about this for centuries. Malthus, the first economist in Britain, he said about 200 years ago that England was overpopulated with 10 million people. Today, England has almost 70 million people, the United Kingdom, and everything is okay. In fact, the problem today is not overpopulation. The problem today is underpopulation. And in most advanced societies, population is becoming stable and increasing. I lived 3 years in Japan, and the population of Japan is beginning to decline. People are dying in Japan, and there are no children, there are no young people today in Japan. It really is very sad. If the trend continues, there will be no Japanese people in 2 centuries. It is that serious. Even in Spain, the population of Spain is not increasing, and the native population of Spain is actually decreasing. It is overall maintained because of all the immigration to Spain. But otherwise, the population of Spain would be in decline already, like it is happening in Germany or it is happening in Russia. So it is not true that there is overpopulation. This has always been a myth, which is not real. But in any event, even if it were so, if there were a big problem of overpopulation in the future, it will be in centuries. It's not going to be tomorrow or next week or next month, not even next year. It will take centuries for the population to change significantly. And in any event, in about 10 years, 15 years, we are going to begin going to Mars. And imagine going to Mars. It's going to be fantastic. Instead of having a honeymoon, you can have a honey Mars. You can fly on Mars. Imagine, have a lot of fun going to Mars, going into space. So for those people who think that there are too many people on Earth, well, you are welcome to go to Mars.
Great, so plenty of opportunities and options as always. So another question that came to my mind is, at the end, if by 2045 everyone will have the possibility of not aging and of living forever, I mean, I guess this is only going to be possible for the richest people, for the ones that can really afford these high technologies and really cutting-edge technologies. So what about the rest of the people? Is the Earth going to be populated only by rich people in some centuries?
We want these technologies to be available to anyone who wants them, because they will be very cheap. Let me give you an example. For example, mobile telephones, cell phones. When they began, they were very expensive and only for rich people. Today, everybody who wants a cell phone, a mobile phone, has a telephone today. Even in the poorest parts of India, in the poorest parts of Africa, people who want telephones, they have telephones. Another example is the genome, the sequence of the genome. When it began, it cost billions of dollars. Today, it is under $1,000, and soon it will be $10. All of you will sequence your human genome for a few dollars, and you will know your biology. And you know why? Because we are very cheap. We are not expensive. You know, we humans, we are basically 70% water. And we are not French Perrier water. We are tap water, okay? And that is 70% of us. The other 30% that makes humans is the most common and abundant elements on the planet. We are a bit of carbon, a bit of nitrogen, potassium, sodium, etc. So we humans don't cost even $100 in raw materials, in chemical materials. We are basically water bags, a bag with water. So we humans are cheap, and to fix humans in the future with nanotechnology will be very cheap. And these technologies will be available to anyone who wants them.
Great, sounds very exciting and promising. So, I mean, a lot of people didn't raise their hands because they said that they wouldn't like to live forever. Some others, very brave ones, said they would live forever. So why do you think we're scared of living forever?
Well, first of all, this is not mandatory. If someone wants to die, please go ahead and die. You know, this is not obligatory, it is not mandatory. But I think it is, thank you. I think it is beautiful to be alive. It is so fantastic. Life is incredible. Imagine all the things you still have to do. All the books you have to read, like my book. All the music you have to listen. All the food you have to eat. All the places you have to visit. And wait until we begin traveling to other planets. There are so many incredible things to do that I don't think people will get ever bored. You will not get bored because life is incredible and we will be able to do more things. In fact, I not only work on life extension, but also life expansion. We are going to expand the things we will do in our lives, which will keep on becoming longer, indefinitely longer. But again, this is not mandatory. If at some point in the future, let's say when you are 2,000 years old, you get bored, well, then you can die. It is not obligatory, it is not mandatory, but I think it will be fantastic also because you will be young. If you are like a 100-year-old person, then you probably feel sick and weak. But if you are always 20 years old, 25 years old, you will feel full of energy. And that is the objective of the people who are working on rejuvenation technologies, even to bring older people back to younger stage. And that is why, remember me, this is not a joke. In 20 years, I will be physically younger than some of you.
Okay, so this is in line with your first message, which is that we will actually live longer, but younger, not live longer while being older, which is obviously something that no one wants, for sure. So, lastly, I want to ask you our last question, and I know that the people from my team told you about Pangea, about Unleash, but there's a vision we have which is the core of everything we do, which is that age has no limits and that age is not a number, and youth especially is not a number. So you can be young at 15 years old, at 20 years old, or at 60 years old. So it's a mindset thing, it's an attitude thing. So we say that, that young means three things for us. So think with no boundaries, speak with no fears, and act with no limits. So do you agree on this vision?
Yes, and it is a beautiful vision, but I would complement it, I would improve it, and I would augment it. I would say, live with no boundaries, live with no fears, and live with no limits. It is all about living, about life. So I like to talk about live to live and death to death. And remember, this is a special time, for the first time in human history, that we will be able to achieve conquering aging and rejuvenating now. So we are living between the last human mortal generation and the first human immortal generation. And I ask you, where do you want to be? Do you want to be among the last humans who will die, or the first humans who will live long enough to live forever?
Thank you very much, Jose Luis. This has been a very interesting discussion. I hope you guys think the same. I see we already have some questions. So what do you think about the impact that these new technologies can have when talking about inequality within society and economically speaking?
Well, I think these technologies will be available to everybody because I repeat, all technologies, when they begin, they are very expensive and very bad. But when they are democratized, when they are popularized, when they are massified, they become very good and very cheap. So this will be available to everybody, and people will want it. Imagine if today everybody has a mobile telephone, a cell phone in the world, anywhere in the world, the same will happen to these rejuvenation technologies, because more important than having a phone is having your life. If you have no life, don't worry about a phone.
So, and I have one question. As a scientist, obviously, you always analyze something from the better part to the worst part. I mean, you obviously analyze the good and the bad. So, what could be the downside of everybody living forever? We've seen the positive sides a lot, but what would be what should we worry about and plan for?
Nothing. There is no downside to being young forever. I mean, I don't see it, you know. This is the most beautiful thing, to be young, energetic all the time. How could that be bad? How could there be a downside to that? So my question is, I don't see a problem. This is a good thing. So what is the problem of a good thing? Nothing. And this is not just good. This is the most incredible thing. The first dream of humanity, to be immortal. So now we have that possibility. And I repeat, this is not mandatory. If you think this is bad, okay, kill yourself. If you think this is bad, again, die. Don't be part of the future. And it's very interesting because those who want to die and will disappear from the future. And those who want to live, we will stay and create the future that we want together.
Thank you very much, Jose Luis. So please, if you're interested in this subject, you can read his book. You can show it, La Muerte de la Muerte.
And look at my tie. It goes with the book.
Exactly. So you can find the book in every bookshop here in Madrid, so I encourage you to read it if you're interested in this kind of subjects, futuristic subjects, and obviously if you're interested in living forever, right?
Absolutely. And I hope no one dies here. Remember, this is an incredible opportunity, the first time in human history. So live long and prosper.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, now you don't have to be worried about dying, because you're going to live forever. But there's people that I don't like in life. So if it's hard for me, like spending 5 minutes, like immortality, whew, it's just no. Like too much time with you. I guess that will happen to somebody with me. It's like spending my whole life with this stupid girl. I'm like, I don't care, I'm immortal. Now you cannot do anything to me. Like Crepúsculo. I'm gonna be like Edward Cullen. Oh, I read that when I was 16 and I wanted to be immortal. And now is my moment. So I'm happy. I'm gonna ask you a question. How many of you have a driving license? Ah, bueno. Okay. I expected more though. How many of you, well, the ones that have a driving license, I don't think you have a car and not a driving license, because that would be a really stupid thing. How many of the ones that have driving license have a car, own a car? Okay. I know somebody that has many cars, a lot. Seat. Oh, la de coches que tienen. So, our next speakers come from Seat, which is a Spanish automobile manufacturer. I guess everybody knows Seat. Yes or no? Of course you do. So, they're working on the future of mobility and can certainly teach us a lot about cars. So, let's give them a really big applause.
Hello, good afternoon. Well, I brought a bottle because I'm a little bit ill, so maybe then I will need a little bit of help. Well, Unleash 2018, it's really like an amazing event. And honestly saying, after seeing all of those inspiring speeches, amazing shows, now such a profound interview, it's really like a big challenge for me to do this talk, so please help me. What can I do to gain your attention, to engage all of you, like very young people, searching for inspiration? At the beginning, I thought of doing like a typical corporative presentation, but then yesterday I was like also attending here a lot of shows, and I was also listening, talking so much about being yourself, about unleashing yourself. So I decided that today I'll be just myself. And I will explain you my story, my personal story, just to transmit you how important it is, and it was always for me to guide myself by heart, also in my professional life and in my professional decisions. Okay, so I will start by introducing myself. My name is Olivia Puppel. I'm 36 years old, which I think that sounds a lot in these circumstances. I come from Poland, and I am a talent acquisition manager in SEAT. More or less, well, 11 years ago, a long time ago, when I was 25, I decided to start a totally new adventure. During one summer, I just came to Barcelona, and I really fall in love with that city. So I came to Poland. I finished my bachelor in psychology in University of Krakow. And then I'm an only child, so with my parents really afraid and astonished, I just took one suitcase, my dog, and both of us, we went to Barcelona to start our new life. After a few months of adaptation, of learning a little bit of Spanish, I started my first professional experience in a fashion brand, a famous one, which was growing a lot in that time. I was really enjoying it, meeting a lot of people, traveling a lot, having fun. And then just by chance, I got some information about a program for young talent in a company called SEAT, automotive brand. In that time, I didn't know nothing about this industry. I didn't even have a car. But I followed my heart, and I participated in the selection process. My family, my friends, they were surprised because fashion industry, it seemed a perfect for me. But I accepted the offer. And this is how, 9 years ago, my story and my journey with SEAT started. So I joined the company through a program for young talents, and it allowed me at the beginning to do short stages in different areas of the company. I even was doing 2 weeks in production line in a dealer. I went also abroad to one of the companies of Volkswagen Group. Well, SEAT is the only company in Spain that not only manufactures, but also not only sells, but also manufactures, develops, and designs its cars. So it was for me, being psychologist, imagine it was really interesting to see how this process works. Then I was also a bit amazed with the dimensions of SEAT, where in one place almost 14,000 people work, and where you need a car to go from one meeting to another if they are in different buildings. I will try not to bore you, but I will just give you a few figures about SEAT. The surface of our factory is 400 football pitches, so it's bigger than whole Monaco. And in SEAT, every day, every 30 seconds, one car is produced. That means 2,100 vehicles per day, and more or less it means 7 kilometers. If we put them in a line, it's 7 kilometers vehicle every day. And also in our factory, we have more than 2,000 collaborative robots. Honestly saying, when I was 25, I would never ever imagined to work for one company, a company like SEAT, during such a long time. But during those 9 days, I've already changed my job position 6 times. I've participated in a lot of different national, international projects. I've been traveling a lot to different companies of Volkswagen Group. Meeting a lot of different people, really diverse, different ages. Because from my perspective, how I feel or how I see SEAT as an employee is SEAT is a big company, but it consists of a lot of small, big teams that work in specific, transversal, and very diverse projects. For me, my team causes that work is much more than just work. My team causes that every day I wake up and I come with a lot of energy to fight for the best results. And I also try to help them grow, because this is what I experienced when I entered to the company. I really feel that SEAT is a company that inspires its employees to keep moving forward. I got that inspiration through different leaders that I met since I entered to the company, who really a lot of people who helped me to grow professionally, personally. One of them is even doing a professional coaching with me. So coming back to my story with SEAT. More or less, a little bit more than 1 year ago, I faced a new challenge. This challenge was taking responsibility over employer branding and young talent programs in SEAT. Basically, the objective of my department is to create the best image of SEAT as employer. What we want to do is encourage best talents to enter to SEAT, to start to work for us. We want to transmit everything that SEAT is and that SEAT offers, so that young people like you, want to join us and change automotive sector and create the future of mobility with us. Well, you know all SEAT, but I think that this challenge is quite a difficult one, because I'm conscious that SEAT, or basically automotive sector, is still being seen like a very traditional one, a boring one, a dark, I don't know, dirty and noisy factory. But it's really totally untrue. Automotive sector right now is facing more challenges than in the last 100 years. Well, those of you who saw the video of Volkswagen about the future of mobility, new mobility services, connected car, electrification, autonomous car. I will just give you like, well, 2 examples. Before, Maria asked you how many of you have a cars, but they were putting me a micro, so I didn't see it. How many of you have got cars? And how many of you have ever used an app to order a taxi, order a Cabify, or I don't know, rent a car? How many of you? Well, I don't know if you see it, but more of you use app than have a car. And this tendency is growing every time quicker. So that means that our sector is changing. Another example, and maybe comparing it with another sector. I don't know if all of you lived that moment, but I did. When I was small, my parents, when they wanted to do any transaction, they had to go to the bank physically. They have to sign the paper and so on. I do not go to bank. I do everything online. I suppose that you do it like this also. Anyway, if you want to buy a car, you still have to go to dealer, you have to order it, and maybe you have to wait like 2 or 3 months. But this will change. In SEAT, we are already testing selling cars by Amazon, and maybe you order it one day and you have it next day at home. And to face those kind of challenges, we need people like you, young people who already were born in this reality, so that you help us to change the future of automotive industry. I'm sorry. So during this challenge of automotive industry, when I entered to employer branding team, we had another coincidence happened. I'm sorry. Okay, so in November 2017, I was attending an HR conference in Barcelona, and this is where I meet Pablo Gonzalez from Pangea. In that time, I didn't know nothing about Pangea, I didn't know Pablo, but I really enjoyed his speech. After the conference, we connected by LinkedIn, and another time, like following my feeling, I invited him to visit SEAT, visit our headquarters in Martorell, and it was just like, I don't know, like love at the first sight. From one side, me and my team, we were really like very amazed with Pangea, and we knew that they would be like a perfect partner for us. And on the other hand, Pablo and his team, when they came to SEAT, they were totally amazed. They had the same impression that I had when I joined the company. SEAT is not what it seems to be, and young people, almost among the young people, they have totally different image. So then we thought, okay, we can change it and we can do something so that people like you have the real impression about SEAT. As I mentioned before, about this disruption in automotive sector. SEAT is changing, and we want to be like a key player in a connected car. Because if we talk about autonomous driving, first you need to have a connected fleet to do the connected driving. And that is why we work with the reference tech players like Google, Amazon, or Telefonica. For example, SEAT is the first one in Europe with Google Waze in cars. Also the first one in Europe with Amazon Alexa, And we are the first ones worldwide with Shazam inside of our cars. But finally, these are our projects. For me, from human resources perspective, what is most important that all of those projects, they are being developed and designed by people, by totally different profiles. And what kind of people do we need in SEAT? In SEAT, we are searching for forward thinkers. We are searching for people who question everything they do, who never stop, who believe in their talent and like take it to the next level, who are always ready to move. And basically, what we need is people like you. So, in this part of the speech, what I wanted to do is like to transmit you everything that SEAT is and that SEAT will be. I did like a little bit of employer branding, just in order to encourage you to get us know better, to come maybe to our hub here in Unleash, to participate in our quiz, maybe even visit us in our headquarters in Martorell. So that was like my professional phase. And from my personal perspective, like sharing with you my personal story, my little personal story, what I wanted to transmit you is just like it's really important to follow your heart, to challenge yourself. And when you want to achieve something, don't listen if your parents maybe do not agree, maybe they have another opinion. Just follow your instinct. And also I think what's really important is not to compare yourself with anybody, because every story of each one of you is totally unique. And if you feel like creating your story with SEAT, you are totally welcomed. So thank you very much for your attention, and I think that we'll enjoy a lot this show.
Okay, the next speaker we have is he does something amazing, and I think you're gonna love it, because the things that people can do throughout our social media, like, it's like a form of us. I mean, your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook, your MySpace, Badoo, I don't know which social medias you use, but it's like a reflection of yourself. So many times we're giving so much information about ourselves that we don't even know, and we're sharing many things about ourselves. So our next speaker predicts which insurance are best for you according to your social media. So he sees your social media, and according to that, he can predict what is the best insurance for you. And I think that's amazing. So please give a really warm welcome to Erik Abrahamsson, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see so many people here in beautiful Madrid. Who's from Madrid in here? That's a lot of people. It's my first time here, and I love the city already, so definitely coming back again. My name is Erik Abrahamsson. I'm founder and CEO of DFP. So we're an insurtech analytics company where we look at things like social media, reviews, and other things. I'm going to mention a few things about my company, but it's also going to be about an entrepreneurial journey, a journey around the world, and sharing 3 specific ideas about it. I live in London now. That's where I run my company, but until pretty recently, I was a farmer in Sweden. So this is a photo of me standing out in the field, driving old tractors around, trying to do some farming out there. But mostly, as you can see in the photo, I was scratching my head and thinking, what am I doing here? I didn't think it would be a good place to spend the rest of my life, and I thought that, if I'm just stuck on a farm, then maybe it's not going to be a good outcome for me, especially if we're now going to live for eternity, like the previous speaker said. I didn't want to be farming for eternity. So a friend of mine around this time told me that life is a book, and if you don't travel, then you will only read 1 page. That really took an impact on me, and from that farm started a global journey that I'm still out on today, and entrepreneurship has been a part of it. So I've been living in places like China, Malaysia, Switzerland, Singapore. It's a beautiful city as well. I went to Oxford on a scholarship, and I've been learning from people like Erik Schmidt from Google and others. And today, like I said, I'm lucky enough to be leading this team that's furthest down to the right in London, where I'm living now. So coming from that farm and going out in the world and living in many different places, it happened because of a lot of people helped me along the way. And it happened because I was lucky, but it also happened because I followed what I think are the 3 central ideas that I would like to share with you today. And those 3 ideas have to do with the fact that passion is something that you have to create for yourself. You can't just go out and get it from somewhere else. It needs to come from within you, and I'll talk a little bit about that. The second one is about your habits. So what habits you do on a day-to-day basis, how will that impact the long-term outcome of your life? How will it impact what kind of person you become? So habits determining all of it. And thirdly, the importance of working together with other people. That's where we come into the social media part, because it's such a big part of what we do today, and social media will definitely be part of the future as well. So I'm going to go through them one by one, give a couple of examples. At the end, you can also ask me any questions at all, so use the app and we can take them into a great conversation at the end. So let's kick it off. Many people would tell you that you just need to go out and find what you're passionate about, and if you're truly passionate about it, you will always succeed, and it's going to be easy for you. That might be great advice, especially for getting into a field that you will enjoy doing. The problem happens whenever you have setbacks, and there will always be setbacks no matter what you do. Let's say that you want to go into music, and you're passionate about music, you love performing, but it's hard to get the first record contract. It's hard to get the first deal, it's first to go out and play live for the first time. When that happens, there is a risk that if you only come from the passion as you're defining it, you'll be thinking that, oh my God, I must not be passionate enough, because if I was passionate enough, I would be successful. So I want to turn that around a bit and challenge you to see if you can create the passion from within yourself. If you do that, you don't have to rely on anybody else. You don't need a boss to tell you how to be passionate. You don't need any coworkers to be motivating you. You can have the passion every single day by following the right steps. One way of testing this would be if you're going to come with me out to the plaza, and I would spread out coal on the ground, and I would pour gasoline over that coal, and I would light it on fire, and I would tell you that you're going to walk over burning coal together with me. Would you be able to do it? Would you be able to get that passion, enthusiasm, and certainty that you'll be able to go over something that looks like this? I've done it twice, so I can tell you that you will be able to do it by bringing out the certainty, by having the stature, by using your physiology to walk over burning coal. Even as they did when I did the second time, somebody stands frying bacon next to you to tell you how burning it's going to be. As long as you walk fast enough, then the heat doesn't transform into your feet, and you can literally walk through fire. If you can create that kind of certainty, passion, and enthusiasm within you, you can take that with you any place you go in life, into your studies, into creating a company, into your careers, so you can immediately bring it and create it whenever you want to. Therefore, when I started a startup in the insurance industry, and I mostly met people looking like this when I came in, told them that, hey, we're going to use social media to make your business a lot better. It's going to be great. It was really hard to get people to be excited about it. Often in the insurance industry, people have been working in the same jobs for a long time, so I had to create the passion and enthusiasm to turn these people into followers. The good thing is that if you can do that, even in a stale, old-fashioned industry, people will become enthusiastic about you and your company and your ideas, and they will follow you no matter where you go, and they will be telling you that, wow, this company has some great ideas. This is why we won Best FinTech in the UK recently. So just by bringing that passion, you can immediately go out and create it, and you don't need to rely on other people to be doing it. Physiology, the way you exercise, that's what creates passions, and it comes from within you. Now let's move on to habits, and it's something where you often have to be creating a loop. Habits always follow a cue, so there's something that you see, you then do a routine, that's the habit itself, and that gives you a reward. These can be positive or negative, but it's important to question for yourself, do I have the right habits at this time? Many people who are smoking, for example, will have the cue of being stressed and they're feeling a bit, oh, I just got to get something. The routine then becomes that they smoke a cigarette. The reward becomes, the nicotine feels good, you're taking deep breaths, and suddenly you're stuck in that habit loop. The way you can change it is to keep the same cue, keep the same reward, give yourself that passion and enthusiasm as the reward, but change the routine. So this is something I personally had to do when I was trying to learn Chinese. I was then reading a book on Aristotle, and he said that we are what we repeatedly do, so excellence is not a single act, but a habit that you go on. This really became inspirational for me, and I was trying to apply it to Chinese learning when I was living in China at the time. Chinese is hard. Chinese has many characters. The problem is that they also all sound the same. So all these characters that mean everything from mother to question are pronounced ma, 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 ma. So if you can't hear the difference of them, it's impossible to know if you're asking for your mother, or asking for some grass, or arguing with someone, or asking a question. The only way to go through the 30,000 characters of Chinese language acquisition is by repetition. So I made it a daily habit to read it in the morning. I put it on my phone. Every day I was on the bus, I would be going through hundreds of characters in order to have that daily habit to keep cycling through it. Keeping a daily habit will get you so much further than anything else you can. And you can do that with any habit you want. If you want to create some more life-changing habits, the 3 Gs are pretty helpful: gratitude, grit, and general fitness. Fitness, because you always want to be able to create the energy and the passion that we're talking about. Gratitude, and I'll talk about this at the end, because it fills your heart with joy. And it's important to be afraid. It's impossible to be fearful if you have gratitude in your heart. Grit might be even more important, because that's the spirit of never giving up. It's learning from mistakes, moving forward, and just refusing to take failure as an option. When I started a company and went out to start pitching for investment, I had to go out and create grit immediately inside of myself. Because when you go out and pitch for investment, if anybody ever starts your own companies, you get a lot of rejections. This is a list of all the VC funds I pitched to unsuccessfully. So they said no, they said your idea is stupid, they said this is never going to work, and eventually we managed to prove them wrong. There's over 250 companies out there. Just keep scrolling on it. And every single one are people I've met, and they've been telling me, no, this isn't going to work. Eventually, we did get several $1 million of investment from Pentech, EOS Venture Partners, who've been amazing and who've been building the dream together with me. But it wouldn't have happened unless grit was a daily habit that you exercise every single day. It's very hard when you get to it. Normal motivation, being passionate, would not have been enough to go through that massive amount of rejection when trying to launch this company. So you have to create it from yourself and then turn grit into a daily habit to go through massive amounts of rejections. But I promise you, when you do, it's amazing to get out on the other side. Let's now move on to the third part. No matter what you do, no matter how great habits you have and how many great things you can bring out with enthusiasm, unless you're working together with other people, you're unlikely to get very far. There's an African proverb which goes, if you want to go fast, you can go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I firmly believe in the latter part. To illustrate this, I'm going to tell you about a research study done in the US where they asked 100 people, tell me about Thomas Edison, one of the greatest inventors of all kind, a true innovator, real creative genius. They asked the people, describe what he looks like and where he is. And they said, well, he's probably in his lab, he's working a lot, doing some experiments, figuring out the light bulb, even using grit, these kind of things. The researchers then asked the questions, do you see Thomas Edison by himself or with other people? And almost everyone answered back, oh, he's by himself. He's a lone genius. He's standing in his lab by himself, day and night, working on experiments, and his lone genius is what created change in the world. This has become the view of entrepreneurship in the world, the way that we see creative genius flourishing. Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, sitting alone in their basement, creating amazing things. But in reality, Thomas Edison and most other successful entrepreneurs that we have in the world are surrounded by hundreds of other people. At any one time, Thomas Edison was working with at least 30 people. These are just some of them. He started a company with thousands of people working together with him, both on the entrepreneurship itself, but also on the experiments. He was a co-author to many of the patents attributed to him, and he learned to work with people. So what I'm hoping you can do is to challenge that idea of the lone genius itself and try to think about how you can work through other people, with other people, helping them to succeed. Because if you can do that, you can both succeed together as a team. Isaac Newton himself even said that if I've been able to see further than others, it's only by standing upon the shoulders of giants. Isaac Newton himself, very active in the Cambridge community, learned from other academics at the time, did experiments together. He wasn't only sitting alone under a tree waiting for an apple to fall on him, he worked together with other people, and I hope that you will too. So to summarize the 3 ideas, passion really has to be created from within. It's something that you have to bring into every situation. Your habits can help you get there, but you also need to work through other people. And if I want to summarize all of it with just one advice I want you all to take out from this, it would be after today, when you go outside, you pick up your phone and you call somebody and tell them thank you. Because there are people in your life who have meant something to you. They've tried to get you as far as they could. You can call your father, you can call your mother, a teacher who put you on the track to be where you are today. There's somebody who was there to help you when things were tough. Someone was there to help you go that extra mile. Somebody was there, maybe as an athletics coach, to push you the extra mile to get somewhere. And you should say thank you to them. As a final point, I'll be saying thank you to you. My email address is up there. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll take any questions that you might have. Thank you. First question on the top. Is there a kind of passion that loses a bit of its essence once there is an economic exchange involved? I see that a lot, actually. With many of my friends who do creative pursuits or artists, as soon as you get to the monetary exchange, it becomes less important. Amazing book on this is by Carol Dweck, and she researches what happens when you put the monetary value to something. There is a risk for doing that, which makes it all the more important that you yourself can motivate yourself. If you can create it from within with your energy and your passion, as we've been talking about, then it doesn't matter if there's economic exchange or not. You'll be able to go through it. Very good question. Thank you. Next one is around, do you think there are certain countries that enforce kids to follow their passions more than others? If so, could you give some examples? Interesting one. Comparing the countries I've lived in, Hong Kong tries to create more creativity. They teach it. They make sure people go out and draw. But it's often outside of the school itself. So that means that school children, after they finish at 5, they go to evening classes to do drawing, and then language classes later at night. That means they don't have enough free time, so they don't actually get to pursue their own pursuits. It often becomes just an extra thing to do, unfortunately. Scandinavia, where I come from, we're generally pretty good at it. The founder of Spotify, Mr. Daniel Ek, has said that the fact he got guitar classes himself when he was a kid for free from the government, that meant that he could start Spotify and be passionate about music later. So some of the Scandinavian countries are trying it. The UK, where I'm living, it's a little bit split. If people are wealthy, they can generally pursue those kind of pursuits, and they see it as impossible, but it's very unequally distributed. So it depends on where you live. Singapore, where I was living before, had probably come the furthest to create more of an environment for entrepreneurship and innovation, and I'm flying there just in a couple of weeks to see how they're getting on with it. Last one that I will be keeping. What would you say to a young pound who doesn't find his passion yet? Is it related to our studies or hobby? I think that I would be excited if I was a young talent, I hadn't found it yet. That just means that the whole world and the whole opportunities are in front of me. Maybe just because I haven't found it yet doesn't mean that I won't ever find it. Maybe it means that I just haven't been looking in the right places. So I would advise that young talent to go out and try as many things as possible. I do that every week now. I'm signing up for new language classes. I'm taking classes in improv comedy, which is really scary and really, really hard. But it's to try to exert yourself for new experiences and new ideas. Traveling definitely helps. Whenever you go out and see people from other cultures, you can see what they are passionate about, learn from them, and then hopefully get together. I want to thank you once again for those excellent questions and for all the support. Hope to see you later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erik. Hi. How are you having a good time? Don't go, please. Come back. I'm watching you. I'm not crying. Okay, they're far enough now. I can stop staring at them because they're not coming back. Whatever. Okay. It's clear enough that these days are all about entrepreneurship. I promise that by tomorrow I'm going to learn how to say this word like correctly because it's not like the best word for me. I'm better at other words, but I'm trying. So, this is something important. It's something we're focused. Ooh, it's broken here too. Great. I cannot do something right. It's just, I try to be like the best me I can be. It's just not working. It does not work for me. But I am the woman I am. No, I just said, be the woman you are, be the woman in me. Well, I'm this. This is me. So I embrace it. Embrace your flaws. So, thank you very much. Because panties are expensive and I waste all my money in this. Whatever. Startups, that's what everything is all about. In the next panel, I need your help in this. Because it's important for you to vote, because if not, nothing makes sense. So, the next panel, 3 startups. It's like, this is like a promo, 3 startups, 1 votation, an audience, Twitter. So, what we're gonna do, Pangea is gonna put a tweet in their account. You know the account of Pangea because it's not there, but you've been tweeting. So it's, how do you say arroba? Somebody says, how do you say arroba? Whatever, that, Pangea, okay? Phenomenal. You enter the Twitter of Pangea, Pangea, and there is gonna be a tweet where you can vote. So, 3 super startups for the next pitch. It's gonna be 20 minutes. The 3 startups are gonna speak about their startups. They're gonna do their thing, you know? They're gonna try to convince you, and you're gonna choose the winning one. So, you have to vote, because if you don't vote, there's no winner. And if there's no winner, what are we doing here? Nothing. So you vote. If you don't vote, I'm gonna get mad. I'm gonna go one by one, voting with your phones. Like, So you vote. Now let's give a really big applause and prepare your cell phones.
Hello, everyone. Well, this is officially our last time together on the stage, so I'm going to be presenting the last moment of today. Obviously, there are more things coming, but this is the last time I will be with you on stage, and it is a very special moment because it's time for startup pitches. I was waiting for that. So I want you to get excited because we're going to need you, okay? First of all, we said that there's going to be a votation, so you have to go on your Twitter later on and vote on your on your favorite startup. And also, I'm going to ask for volunteers, okay? I want the judges in you to wake up and to come with me on stage. So I'm going to need 2 volunteers to judge the first startup who's going to pitch. Who's going to be a volunteer? Okay, one of you guys there, I'm sorry, I can't see, I can't really see. Can someone help me? Yes, go ahead. You on the first, yeah, on the 3rd row. Yes, please come. You're going to be our judges for the startup pitches. Woo! Give them a round of applause, please. Great, please take a seat on the judges' coach. So, can I have a microphone here, just so that they can present themselves? Yes, please. Thank you. So, can you introduce yourselves?
Ladies first.
Okay.
What's my name? My name's Olivia.
My name is Alex Crespo. I'm from Valencia and I'm 21 years old.
Okay, why? Yes, go ahead and tell us why you're here.
Okay, my name is Olivia Gloaca. I'm from Chicago.
Wow.
I'm studying here in Spain, and my friend told me about this, invited me, and I'm 18.
Applauses for Chicago, please.
So actually, I didn't know anything about this event until 2 weeks ago when I participated in something on Instagram and I got invited to this event. I got 2 tickets and I tried to invite some of my friends, but since it was during the week, they couldn't come. So yeah, I came here on my own.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm going to take back the microphone. We're going to give it to our next startup who's going to come on stage. They're from Team Labs, Mondragon Team Academy, and the first one is Gloria Cubianes, co-founder of Hemper. Please come to the stage. So Sofia, you have 5 minutes to pitch your startup and convince our jury. You have the...
Thank you. 1, 2, and 3. During these 3 seconds, there are 3 people that they became poor because they had to pay for medical assistance. 1 person died because he or she hasn't got access to medicines. We throw 190 tons of trash to the environment. And in the other side of the world, in this side of the world, one big company just had $2,000 of profit. The system, our system, is just like that. We take resources from nature for the production of products that are made by people that are exploited. And then we distribute them here and we sell them here for its use. The use of that products, in the 99% of them, it's less than 1 year. We all are aware about the social inequalities that are in our world and the huge problem that we have with the climate change. We are destroying our world. We need to change the way how we work and how we live. 5 years ago, this always happens to me.
Okay, can we have a fixer for the... No.
It's fine. Well,
can someone... I'm going to take care of it. It's okay. Please come. This is resilience. Entrepreneurs have to be resilient. You have a stopper, and then you have to be resilient.
Maybe it's a kind of file or...
Okay, we're going to be continuing in a few minutes. Just the time to have...
Okay.
Oh, okay, it's fixed.
It's ready.
So the floor is back to you.
So 5 years ago, I met the other side of the country. I went to Nepal. Nepal is a poor country for doing volunteering. I'm sure here many of you have been in a volunteering trip. And yeah, I don't know why, but I fell in love with that country. Nepal, as many countries in our world, belongs to the group of countries that are undeveloped or are trying to develop. Nepal started its development 50 years ago, and it's quite hard because it has a lot of mountains. So the communication and the transportation between cities, villages, and other countries is very hard. So the result is that 25% of its population lives below the poverty line. So when I came back, I was thinking of how to help that people and help that country, but I didn't know how, because I knew that volunteering was not the way. So this thought was in my mind until I met 4 other guys that they had this shared feeling with me. They have been also in Nepal, they were volunteers there, but they wanted to keep on working with Nepal, but not as volunteers. We wanted to find a way that we could work with them in a long-term and in a sustainable way. We were also about to finish university, so we wanted to develop our professional careers. We wanted to have a job, as everyone does, and that's why we created Hemper. That's how Hemper was born. We created a company where we could have a salary, we could develop our jobs, develop our careers, and at the same time have this impact. We didn't want to create an NGO because we didn't want to wait for the money and the charity to come to us. So we joined together our two passions that were fashion and, of course, Nepal. Hemper, it's a backpack brand, fashion backpack brand, that our products are made out of hemp in Nepal with people in risk of social exclusion. Our mission is to contribute Nepal's social and economical development and raise awareness about sustainable fashion in Europe. We are, as I said before, we are not an NGO, we are a fashion brand. We believe that brands are the most powerful tool to influence people. Brands have values and lifestyle that we want to belong to. Brands make us feel cool, right? When we buy something from one brand that we like, we feel better. We feel that we belong to the kind of people that wear that kind of brands. That's why we design our products and we inspire values, sustainable values, to young people, approaching them in a sexy way. We inspire an inconformist and a traveler lifestyle that people want to belong to. So, we don't want people to buy from us because they feel sorry for Nepal. We want people to buy from us because they like our backpacks, they like our designs, they want to wear them. Because they feel that they are special, that they are cool wearing our backpacks. Thanks to that, in less than 2 years, we sold more than 7,000 backpacks and we invoiced more than 400,000 euros. We have an active community online that has more than 100,000 users. I don't think that we could achieve that without being a brand. All that results, what bring to us, are results in Nepal. Let me introduce you to Rawal. He's my age. He's from a remote village from the mountains, and he's a young entrepreneur. He belonged before to that group of people that are below the poverty line. He moved to the city, and he worked until he could pay his studies. And now he's in charge of all our supply chain. In our supply chain, in our production chain, we hire people that come from disadvantaged groups, people that come from rural areas, and people that they don't have education. We give them fair jobs, we give them social benefits, and we help to give her families opportunities. This woman, she's Gokula. She's widow, and she's from Bajura, a town that is from the mountains. She has 3 children. And now, she can maintain the 3 children by herself. Her dream is to give the children the opportunities that she couldn't have. She's uneducated, I forgot that. The second one, this girl here, she's Beauty. She's also one of our weavers, and she's 19 years old. Those two are her brothers, Dharma and Prim. They are at school, and their parents are in the village. So she's the head of the family. She wakes up every day, she goes to college from 7 to 11, and then she works, and she can pay the school from their brothers and the life of the 3 of them. This one is Prince. He's the son of one of our weavers. 1 year ago, we started a program where we give support to all the children from our producers. Prince, 2 months ago, was upgraded one course from school. Then, regarding environmental impact, we work with hemp. I don't know if you heard about hemp. Maybe not. But hemp has a bunch of ecological, good, and interesting properties as a fiber. For example, if our backpacks were made out of cotton, we were using per piece 10,000 liters of water for the production of one backpack. Using hemp, we produce one backpack with less of 100 liters. That water doesn't come from irrigation. That water comes from the monsoon rain. Then, you should know that 20% of the toxics that we throw to our environment come from the fashion industry. For herbicides, pesticides, dyes, etc. With hemp, we don't use any of them. Our backpacks are toxic-free. I could continue to telling you about a lot of things that hemp has, but what I would like to say is that hemp, we stopped using hemp because of the plastic industry. So now we are bringing hemp back to the world. In the long run, what we are doing with hemper is giving or bringing wealth in a social, ecological, and economical way to Nepal. We promote industry and international trade. We give jobs for more than 50 people. We give opportunities for more than 20 families. We save tons and tons of water. We are removing plastic from the backpack industry. And we are encouraging more than 100,000 young people.
I'm sorry, your time is off. Sorry.
It's one sentence. Okay. We are encouraging more than 100,000 young people to take action and change the world by our brand. So, our trip started in Nepal. Where do you want yours to start? Thank you.
Thank you. So, for our judges, what are your comments, questions, anything? Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, I think that in general, when you first started speaking and saying the statistics, I feel like later, like when you start talking about how you went to Nepal and your experience there and the people that you met, it was like much more effective, and you can just tell that you were more confident and like more upbeat, and yeah, it was just going better, I think, than like saying the statistics. So like in the future, I would recommend like telling that story, that personal story, versus just like giving us those general facts.
First of all, I think it's a great idea, great business. I'm not a professional or anything, but just my impression was really good. Can we ask a couple of questions? Or
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So my first question would be, is everything you're wearing today fair trade clothing? And the second question is, why backpacks?
Part of our production is fair trade, the dye part. And then the part that is not fair trade, we're working with with Rawal to get the certification. And the second one, why backpacks? Because it was totally random, because we found that we liked the backpacks, and it also represents, as our company started with a trip, with a travel, backpacks represents that for us. So.
Okay, thank you and congratulations. Great job.
Thank you.
So thank you, judges. Thank you, Gloria. You can now go back to your seats. Thank you. And now I want 2 other volunteers that are going to be judges. Okay, the 2 of you there. So I'm going to call the next startup to the stage, who is coming from Demium Startups. So Teo Ortega, co-founder of Coco. Please welcome him with a warm applause.
Hi guys, I'm Teo, co-founder of Coco, and today I'd like to talk about how disruption comes in waves. And not only does it come in waves, it often comes in the form of a toy or something that looks like a toy. And we've got a couple of examples. We've got a couple of examples that have happened in the past of things that look like not such a big deal, but became a really big deal. And one of them is a guy in the 90s from Switzerland. He invented something that's called HTML. And from a computer scientist perspective, that's not a big deal. It's just a descriptive language. But it changed the internet. It actually enabled the internet economy that fueled the 90s. Another guy in California took an iPod Touch and put some internet connectivity into it and called it the iPhone. I don't have to tell you what a revolution the iPhone is. But at the very first days, it didn't look like a big deal. It looked like a toy. The very first iPhone didn't sell very well. So today I'd like to show you something that looks like a toy, but is actually a big deal. But I'm not going to show it yet. I'm going to talk about a problem that exists and that we're not really aware of, but 60% of the rides that we take inside of a city is 5 kilometers or less. And usually we do that by car or public transport. But car is not a good thing. It pollutes, it's noisy, it's costly, and public transport is inconvenient. It doesn't take me exactly where I want to go. The metro station is not exactly at my home. It's not exactly where I work. I have to walk 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers. So if public transport doesn't work, what do? I take the car, because I don't have any alternative to the car. But we would like to present a toy, or something that looks like a toy, but is actually a real alternative to a car and can disrupt the car industry. So sorry, the girl from SEAT was here before, so I'm sorry, we're going to disrupt you a little bit. And this is the toy I'm talking about. So we are Coco, and we have put these tiny scooters, electric kick scooters, on the street in Zaragoza. So we're the first Spanish company to do so. There's another brand operating in Madrid, but these are the real good ones. So if you see these, take these. So what it does, it solves the last mile problem, the first mile, last mile problem. And it allows us to, with a combination of public transport and these vehicles, to actually be able to have a real alternative to cars inside of cities and replace cars. And how does it work? Pretty much we have an app. You locate the scooter on the app. You use it. You pay per minute 15 cents. And then you leave it wherever you want. Just park it responsibly. That's important. And that's it. And what are the next steps? We launched Zaragoza, and now we want to conquer the world. So just a very small feat that we have in mind. The question is, are we in a position to actually conquer the world right now? So we launched one city, and want to launch 100 cities. Sounds like a very similar problem. It's a completely different one. Completely different problem. It's a different scale of a problem. So right now we have the tools to launch a city, but we need the tools to launch 100 cities. And what we need for that is we need to build a machine that allows us to launch cities. And this machine has a combination of things. It has processes, it has tools, but it has one very, very important component, which is a team. We need to build a bigger team. We need to create an amazing team that has the capability to launch 1,000 cities. That is our goal. And these guys, I'm very proud of them. It's our core team. We're 8 people. And in 5 months, we actually achieved to develop a product, source it, build it, and put it in the streets of Zaragoza. So this team is amazing. And if you guys want to be part of an amazing team and help us get to the next level and help us to create something really, really big that looks like a toy, but is much more than a toy, then I'd like you to talk to us. You can work directly with us, the founders. Send us an email. You have the email here. and let us know what you want to do. We need all kinds of people, all kinds of profile. We just need passionate people who want to change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you. So our two judges, you didn't have the opportunity to present yourself, so please very quickly say who you are and why you're here, and then you can make all sorts of questions to Theo.
I'm Lucia, I'm from Jaén, and I'm studying in University Carlos III, and I'm here in El Dish because I like all of this entrepreneurship stuff, and I want to be part of this incredible community and develop myself as a person, as a successful person that can do something in this world.
Thank you, Lucia. Do you have any question for him?
About this product, what can it offer that a normal bicycle does not offer?
A bicycle is one thing. This is a completely different use case. So for example, would you use a bicycle in Madrid in summer to go to work?
Actually, for going to the university, we use them.
All right. I can tell you many people wouldn't do that, for example, to go to a job interview. Why? Because at 40 degrees, you will go there and be sweaty, right? This vehicle, you won't sweat. So our goal is not to replace bicycles, right? Our goal is to replace cars. So bicycles are actually a complementary vehicle, and it's part of what we want.
Great. And you? Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm David, and I'm studying here in Madrid. I'm studying audiovisual communication and, well, sorry, it makes it sound so good. I'm not used to. So, I'm studying audiovisual communication and businesses, and I have a couple of suggestions on the presentation. I loved it, really well structured. The build and the expectation was real nice at the beginning of the presentation, but then it went a little bit down because I didn't feel like it kept the interest on the person that you are trying to sell to. And I also felt a little bit lost because you started talking about the team and about the company, but not really feeling because you're doing the pitch for the people around, for foundation, I guess. So I don't feel how they are getting that part, so they are not really feeling how are they going to win about it. So I would have made it a little bit more into how an investor is going to get the invest back and how it will be better for them on the next pitch.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you very much. So we're gonna see our last startup pitch. So also from Team Labs Mondragon Team Academy, Gonzalo Mestre, co-founder of Shido.
Controlled generation of waste is destroying the earth, and we are all responsible for that. Then we started the college. I met Gloria and Gala, who are my actual partners, and suddenly I realized that we were having a common interest on entrepreneurship and on sustainability. So we said, why don't we start up a project that is sustainable? So we decided to start that venture I'm going to explain to you today, which is called Shido, and is the paper revolution. Shido is a paper produced in a handmade paper mill here in Spain. We produce sheet by sheet. We use as a raw material waste cotton from the clothing industry, and this means that we don't cut trees and we don't use toxic chemicals for the production. As a result, the paper itself is 100% sustainable. But their magic and what really makes Shido special is that it contains seeds on the composition. So after you use it, you can plant it. This closes the consumption cycle and gives to the nature what the nature is giving us. Now you might be thinking like, that's a cool idea, it's nice, it's beautiful, but who's willing to pay for it? So at first, our first customers are companies that are looking for green marketing solutions, because Shido is a great tool to spread and to make tangible their values and their concern with the environment. We are making for them any kind of product, like credentials, business cards, packaging. Everything that is made out of paper can be made out of Shido. So imagine that today the program Unleash has given you is made out of Shido, and tonight you go and plant it at your house. And in 15 days, when you start growing, when you start seeing the tomato growing out of the flyer, then you will remember Unleash, you will remember me, and even you can also remember my project, who knows. The other big segment we are working is weddings. And why weddings? Because who would not love to be remembered in your most beautiful day of your life with the plant that grew up from the invitation? That's beautiful, right? So many people think so. And last but not least, we have developed a card brand. We have developed those cards for people like you, people who is looking for an unconventional gift, for a sustainable gift. And we are selling those cards on our website and on shops all over Spain. We started this project around 3 years ago, and until now we have worked with more than 800 companies. We have invoiced more than 300,000 euros. We have given the chance to more than 500,000 people to plant a seed. We have been present in more than 40 media. We have won several awards. So the path is getting some speed. I would like to close my speech mentioning who's behind of Shido. Right now, the Shido team is composed by 4 young friends, and there is something common between us. Our goal, our mission is to build up a triple bottom line company, which means that we want to become economically, of course, sustainable, but then socially and environmentally sustainable too. So, as Martin Luther King said once, even if I knew that tomorrow the world is breaking in 2 pieces, today I will still plant my apple tree. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, our jury, what do you think? Please introduce yourselves first.
Hello, I do a presentation.
Yes, please present yourself.
I am Victor Cordova. I am the co-founder with some people here of Mission Ciudad Cooperation Project in Philippines. And this project is similar to things that we do there in Philippines, so it impressed me a lot. And my question is that the paper you use don't have the seed, doesn't it? The paper is not with a seed included.
Yeah, the paper has the seed on the composition.
So if you plant it, the seed is going on without any additional seed.
No, the paper has the seed itself. So you just borrow the paper on soil, water it, and from the paper will start sprouting.
And are you thinking in using that and applying it into not only paper but also other type of materials, such for example cotton in the cigarettes, or something that is so many things that are in the streets that are like rubbish, and to use it also in that products?
Yeah, actually we started with this product, which is the seed paper, but we are now developing other kind of products. Are not like it's not exactly the product that you said, but we are trying to pull away those like promotional gifts that you get and then you throw, and change them for promotional gifts that you get and you grow. So we are developing these kind of products for companies to help them to give something original and of course sustainable. So
okay,
yeah.
Thank you so much, and
No
it's
problem.
incredible everything you do in Team Labs with that Lane project. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please introduce yourself.
First of all, hello everyone. I'm Eli, I'm from Lebanon, and this is my second time attending this event, Unleash. I would like to point out on the originality of the project. It's very original, and in my country too we face this problem of trash and what to do with trash, whether burn them or like turning them to compost, etc. But my colleague asked the question I wanted to ask you, like to apply it on other sort of trash. But I have another question, like the fund you collect, is it for charity or just it's a business?
We are not a charity. We are a company. Actually, this is the way we think the impact really makes sense. I mean, we don't want to live from others' money just because they want to be nice with you. We want to make a good impact, but doing business, which means that you can hire people, which means that you can develop other products. So we believe that the mission that a charity does can be done through a company, and we really, really, really believe we can do it.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to the three of you. Please remember, you can vote your favorite startup on Twitter. So going to Pangea's account on Twitter, you can vote your favorite one, and we will tell you which one was the winner in a few minutes. Thank you. Está allí, está aquí.
Vale, Pipo, te apago el 2, te apago el 1. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Probably during these 3 days you've been talking about talent and most importantly about how different generations need to work together to make all of this happen. But the reality is that in this Unleash edition, something that we have discovered is that one of the most important things you need to do is to believe in yourself, no matter what. And that's why we're here, because we wanted to challenge yourself, no matter what, no matter how, no matter when. Something that is really, really important is when we talk about young people, and this is what we've been doing for the last maybe 2 days, is what it means, what it really, really means. And here you have a definition that says that to be young means having lived or existed for only a short time of period and not all. And actually, if you say this, you might agree or not, but the reality is that this is not being said by me, but by the University of Cambridge, which, as you might know, is one of the best ones in the world. But the reality here is that, okay, do we need to really pay attention to what they say? Do we really need to believe in them? Or do we have to change the way we understand what really young means? And taking all of this into account, we decided to take this a bit further and to say, okay, let's really wonder what's going on and what might happen in the next years when we talk about young people. Maybe you know him, right? You might know him, and maybe you have bought many things not from him, but from the brands he has built. At the age of 39 years old, he was brave enough to build a company that you probably know, and you've probably been to quite often, which is this one here, right? But if you think about it, and that's a real question, do you really think that Amancio Ortega lived or existed for only a short time and not all? Do you really think so? I mean, he was 39 at that time, but he's not 39 anymore. And is he young? Is he not? But it's not the only case. You have, for example, Matthias Bridges, who was very, very, very young when he was brave enough, once again, to build a company that it's called Moe's Bows. And it's one of the most important bow ties in the world. And actually, he was considered by Time magazine as one of the most influential teenagers in the world. The question could be repeated, but not in this case, folks. If you think about it, this one here, Mr. Nestlé, he built one of the most important companies in the world, fast-moving consumer goods companies, at the age of 52 years old. You know them, right? Not only him, but think about this one here. Mr. Harlan David Sanders, 65 years old, when he decided to take one step further and say, okay, why not creating KFC, which is one of the most important restaurant chains in the world, right? But if you think about this carefully, you also find examples like Elisa Carson, who was only 17 years old when he was chosen by the US government to be the first person that will land in Mars in 2033. 17 years old. And the question here once again is, okay, is this a matter of being 17, 45, 49, that for example, Mr. Dassler, I mean, you know him for sure, and you wear him every single day probably. The founder at the age, very, very old, that managed to build one of the most important brands in the world, sports brands in the world. And the question here once again is, have they all lived or existed for only a short time and not all? It might be tricky, this question, especially when you analyze all of them and you try to find the common points they have. But if we pay attention to the definition of the University of Cambridge when it comes to understanding what young means, do we really think that being young is what they say, what they claim that young really means? And that's the reason why we're here, and we wanted to create this moment for you. Because during many, many years, we've been talking about talent, about young talent, about how important our generation is. And they've been pushing too much responsibility on us. They said that we had to change the world, and that only people that were 20-something had the chance to transform everything they found around. And I think that it's a matter of perspective. Because you can see her, and you can think that she was young time ago, but you can also think that she still has that young attitude to do whatever. But you can also see her and think, is she like too young to do something? Can she really do whatever she wants to do? Or does she have a young attitude that will ever last? And that's a question here. How do we define something that is so important? Which is, what does it mean to be young, right? And here it's important to stand up and say, okay, why are we here? What is this all about? What are we really doing to make sure that being young is not a limitation anymore? Because we all felt once underestimated because of our age, because of what we wanted to achieve. And here we are to do something different, to prove that our age is not a limitation. And that's why we need to do something different today, tomorrow and the day after, to create that status quo we want to have as a generation. That's really, really important. If we don't do that, we will never change what scares us. And talking about this, it's really important, as I said, to redefine now and forever what young means in today's world. It's really important. If not, we will not be able to build the world of the future we all look for. And that's why this is time. This is the time that we need to change what we think about this. Because being young is not anymore about how old you are, but what's more important about the attitude you have. And this is going to change so many things. Because for many years, as I said, we've been pushing young people, meaning young, those who only were 20 years old, to do crazy stuff. But we all know that we have friends that might be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and even 100 years old, and they all still have that crazy attitude to take things farther. And that's why we wanted to leave you before we leave with this special message. And please, don't forget this, because tomorrow, it all starts. It's really important that you stop being scared, and you take a moment to take one step further and start believing that age is not anymore about you, about your limitations, but about how far you're willing to take your dreams. Have a great day.
Esto es muy jodido. Sí, ya.
Wow! Oh my God, after this amazing speech, I was really astonished. Didn't you guys? It was really powerful, right? Okay, so now it's time for us to elect our startup winner. So I'm gonna call the three of you, please, back to the stage. Come on, the three of you. So, the winner of this startup pitch is Shido. Congratulations. Congratulations. And we have in the second spot Hamper, and lastly Coco. So thank you very much, everyone, for participating. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I hope you had a great time.
Hola. Okay. So, the end has arrived of another wonderful and amazing journey. Don't stand up, because we have a very nice and amazing thing we reserved for the end. Así que, you, I see you. Wait for these beautiful ladies. Whatever. We have this, you're gonna see, is amazing, because you know, best is for the last moment, because we have an amazing close-up, so you can go to your house and think, oh, what a day, what a blast. We had fun, we laughed, I cried, we ate, we drank, we did everything. We were hot, we were cold, because you're hot and you're cold, like Katy Perry says. Everything. This has been an experience, a 360 experience. No, 180, 360 is just like this, right? So you're in the same point. I don't know. I'm not good at this, because I'm not a numbers person. But they are amazing. That's what I know. And you're going to see them. They are Raidanza, and you're going to... O vais a cagar en los pantalones. You're going to flipar. Ole.
puedo pedir si estoy aquí contigo? Y en cada amanecer y me regala un suspiro. ¿Qué más puedo pedir si vivir es lo que pido? Y un farolillo de luz alumbre nuestro camino. Y un farolillo de luz alumbre nuestro camino.
he dicho que os ibais a cagar, eh? Okay, so now we are definitely at the end. I hope you had a really nice day, that you enjoyed every single panel, every single speaker, all the shows, the performance, the food, the people, that you did networking, that you did friends, that you had an amazing time. I hope to see you all tomorrow again. It's the last day, not least. You're gonna have an amazing day. Also, I hope really to see you again. And just remind you, tomorrow, the party at Velvet, Discoteca Velvet, in El Metro de Callao, 12 p.m., 2 p.m. If you go with a bracelet, you have priority entrance, so you can go have fun with the team. You can continue doing networking, but another type of networking, you know? Like maybe a little happier networking, like woo, dancing a little bit and stuff. So I really hope you have enjoyed the day. Yes or no? Ole, pues ala, a casa todo el mundo. You can go home now.